Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into the story of a really ambitious piece of software, from its kind of revolutionary birth all the way to its inevitable end. It's a great story about community, about corporate evolution, and really about what it means for a tool to be successful even long after it's gone. So let's answer that question by looking at the life and death of a once critical tool for programmers. It's called an IDE, an integrated development environment. And this one, well, it truly changed the game for thousands of developers all over the world. Okay, so first things first, what was MonoDevelop? You can think of it like a bridge. It was built so that software developers could use Microsoft's super powerful .NET framework, especially the C# language, but do it on their own terms, on whatever operating system they liked, not just on Windows. So the big question is, why did anyone even need this bridge in the first place? Well, you have to remember, back in the early 2000s, if you wanted to build apps with Microsoft's best tools, you were pretty much locked into the Windows ecosystem. MonoDevelop's whole mission was honestly pretty radical for its time. The goal was to liberate .NET, to let developers write their code just once and have it run anywhere. A Linux server, a Mac laptop, a Windows desktop, you name it. For developers, this was a huge deal for efficiency and just freedom. So where did this amazing tool even come from? What's so fascinating is that it wasn't born in some big corporate lab. Nope, it was a true community effort through and through. It all kicked off back in late 2003 as a fork, which is basically a spin-off of another open-source project called SharpDevelop. A really passionate group of developers took that code and adapted it specifically for Linux. It picked up steam really fast, got its new name, and then got officially adopted by the bigger Mono project, which was the whole movement dedicated to bringing .NET to other platforms. And this tool, born from this small community effort, it didn't just stay small. Oh no, it grew to become incredibly powerful in its own right, to the point where it could actually rival the big commercial software of its day. And we're not talking about some simple text editor either. This was a full-blown professional IDE. It worked on multiple platforms, supported a ton of programming languages, and had all those advanced features you'd expect, like smart code completion, a debugger built right in, and even a visual designer for building user interfaces. It was the real deal. But its biggest claim to fame, its absolute killer app, was the critical role it played in the video game industry. You see, for years, MonoDevelop was the default code editor that came bundled with the Unity game engine on Mac and Linux. This one thing enabled a whole generation of indie developers to build their hit games on whatever computer they wanted to use. Okay, so here's where MonoDevelop's journey takes a pretty significant turn. All this success, well, it didn't go unnoticed. And pretty soon, the corporate world came knocking. The software's evolution really happened in these stages. First, a company called Xamarin, which was commercializing the whole Mono framework, took it and rebranded it as Xamarin Studio. Then, after Microsoft bought Xamarin, the core technology of MonoDevelop actually became the foundation for an official Microsoft product, Visual Studio for Mac. I mean, just stop and think about that for a second. The code that was originally written by that small group of open-source developers back in 2003 was now powering an official Microsoft product. So even with the new branding and all the corporate polish, the DNA of the original MonoDevelop was still right there at its heart. But you know how it is in tech. The landscape is always shifting. And as Microsoft itself started to embrace cross-platform development more directly, the project that started this whole movement, well, it began to fade into the background. The end for the original open-source MonoDevelop project was pretty quiet. In October of 2021, one final message was posted on its development page. Just 5 words. This short, definitive statement meant the community project was officially no longer being maintained. And then, its most famous successor followed it. Microsoft announced that its own Visual Studio for Mac would also be discontinued, with support officially ending on this date, August 31st, 2024. And that marked the final sunset for the entire MonoDevelop lineage. So you've got to be wondering, with the original project gone, and its successors gone too, what was it all for? Was it all just a temporary bridge that's now useless? And that's a totally fair question to ask. But when you step back and look at everything it accomplished, the answer is just a huge, resounding no. Failure? Far from it. Its impact was absolutely massive. It totally achieved its mission of bringing .NET everywhere. It proved that a professional-grade open-source IDE for C# was even possible. It was the backbone for game developers for almost a decade, and its core tech was so good it got bought and rebranded twice, the second time by Microsoft itself. You could make a very strong argument that it helped push Microsoft to become the much more open, cross-platform company it is today. The story of MonoDevelop really leaves us with a different way to think about what success means. It isn't always about just sticking around forever. Maybe, just maybe, the most successful tools aren't the ones that last, but the ones that solve a problem so completely that they actually make themselves obsolete. Their influence, their real legacy, lives on long after that final line of code is archived.